Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another reaction. Today we have another new property. This is MechWarrior 5 Judgement and Retribution as requested by Outlaw Justice. I don't know anything about this series. I think I vaguely remember MechWarrior as like a title, but I don't think I've ever seen gameplay from it even, so I really have no clue what I'm getting into with this one. Kind of similar to the Ace Combat stuff that I've gotten to. I just don't know what to expect out of the sound in this case because whole new game, so I guess I won't know if I don't listen. Without further ado, let's go! Ooh. I mean, I guess I could have expected that. Oh. Okay, I kind of expected it to be thicker. Like, that's a pretty thin snare. It's very snappy. And basically no cymbals in the mix. Kind of a unique take on the mix there. Kind of threw me off. Usually these are really saturated and like thick and full. Oh, love that guitar tone though. In a word, I'd have to say crusty. Again, very snappy kit too. Even the kick drum has a lot of just its punch. Kind of down here air guitaring to myself. It kind of feels like a simplified metalcore. Like a chill All That Remains circa 2006. With obviously a little bit more industrial orchestral elements thrown in. I thought I knew what I was getting into, just based off the visual vibe, but this is more unique than I anticipated. It's just driven by this riff, which I'm not mad about at all. That's probably why I'm getting that All That Remains vibe. They have a lot of that stuff, especially in the 2000s. I know this song is like almost 6 minutes long. And I always wonder if they're gonna go somewhere or if they're gonna stay the course. Always makes for an interesting listen. Ooh, like right here. Basically a bridge. Ooh. Basically a bridge, more like it actually is one. I thought it was just going to be that section before, but... Ooh. The guitar harmony is coming out. I'm still finding myself lost in how the drums were produced. Ooh. That bend in the guitar. I also think it's cool having the that like rhythm guitar just kind of sticking with basically one note, going up and down between a few at a time, but not really chords, I don't think. Like panned mostly in this ear too. Really utilizing that width. I'm actually kind of wondering if they're using that rhythm guitar instead of a bass guitar, because it sounds like it was doubled and maybe dropped an octave for the bass under there, but it was like the same thing as that guitar. Okay, I really didn't think that that was gonna get me the way it got me, as far as just the approach to it. All right. So it's probably going to sound weird that I was more intrigued by the approach than I was the actual song itself. I think that the overall composition was very bare bones. It was just simple, straightforward. Like I said, very riff driven. It kind of just stuck to that riff pretty much the whole time. And there's nothing really wrong with that. It's a safe way to go and really no problems there. It just makes it for a boring experience most of the time when you're doing a reaction. But the production things that the composer did, that the producers did for this, made me wake up a little bit more. Like, again, the drums, it was so overall pretty thinly mixed. Usually you get this like heavier bass line, this like low mid rumble that's just kind of consistent through a heavier song like this, but they went for this like clean higher mid mix, and that's kind of cool. It's not something I hear too terribly often. It's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, it's just kind of an approach. But it's just weird not hearing it so much. The drums being super punchy, super just, it felt like samples. They were so tight and just crisp right through. They cut through the mix like crazy. The guitar tone, again, love that guitar tone. And that rhythm guitar thing that they were doing was just a cool approach too, because I haven't heard that in basically ever. Just having the rhythm guitar just doing its thing, chugging along, keeping pace with the song, and really no bass, especially in that last section. I didn't really pay attention to it in the prior chunk of the song, like everything up to the last fifth maybe. But I think it was just doing single notes up and down on a single string and just kind of, you know, keeping time, keeping that rhythm going. And that's a fine approach. I've heard that a few times. It's just not too terribly common, and then just taking that, maybe dropping it and doubling it an octave lower for that bass guitar sound, and maybe they were playing the bass and they just did the exact same notes, or they like put it into their DAW and there's plugins that can take guitars and just drop it into what a bass would sound like. You could basically simulate what a bass guitar would do by playing the electric guitar and telling it to adjust accordingly. I'm not entirely sure what they did there, but it's neat. I think that's kind of cool. It's just really more interesting to me on that approach, especially the drums and the guitars in here. There was, of course, the synths in there that were just kind of acting as little accents in there, and yeah, sure, those are fine, just doing their diddly-do off on the side, and they were just kind of adding an atmosphere, but it was really the guitars and the drums that were grabbing my attention and making me pay attention through this entire track. And like I said, the overall composition wasn't really anything to write home about. It was a very simple riff, and it was just kind of there. But again, you don't need to have the most complex riffs or the most complex parts in any song to make it work for the situation in the game. I'm assuming that this is probably just a general battle song at that point, where it doesn't need to be overly complex because it would take away from what you're supposed to be focusing on. For a lot of games, you have to learn how to balance that and figure out when and where to put those more complex time appropriate sort of things like major solos and just ripping shit on the guitar, versus stuff like this that's more methodic and just kind of keeps you going. It keeps your attention enough on the details in front of you, but it doesn't distract you from the details that you're supposed to be focusing on. And that's a good composer right there. Even though this is a what I would call a simple part and a simple piece, the production was there, the mood was there, and the goal was seemingly achieved by that, just having it be what it is and not trying to overcomplicate it. That can be difficult as a composer. I'm not one, mind you, but I've heard plenty of music, I've talked to plenty of composers, and there seems to be this general accepted thing of it's harder to be more simple and not go over the top. Learning when to hold yourself back, and as an artist and an animator mainly, I agree with that. As a drummer, I definitely can agree with that, because I like to just do fills all the time, but when you're playing to a song, you can do that. When you're playing for a song, you shouldn't do that, and you should learn when to back off and allow things to just be themselves and take their own time to produce what sound you need to do to reach the mood you need to reach. And I think he did that very well here. But I think that's about all I gotta say on this one, so thank you all so very much for watching, and thank you Outlaw Justice for putting this into the executive producer queue. If you have anything else you want me to get to, by all means drop in the comments below, or if, like Outlaw Justice, you want to guarantee that I listen to something, you can go to my Patreon or my YouTube memberships. There is a tier that will guarantee a request out of me, no matter what it's from, what it's about, how goofy it is, how awesome it is. Doesn't matter, I'll give it a reaction. But otherwise, if you just like this video and you want to follow me and support me for more stuff in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!